Zlurpcast!
Zlurpcast TV. Oh, look at this party of five again. What is this shit? You didn't sign up for this. You're going to get it anyway. We've got Biran in the Sharks jersey. We've got Xtreme in the shirt. You can buy it at zlurpcast.net. Death Path characters. Mike in the flans. Todd with a very British look in the Grognard shirt. You look like an extra from a Monty Python sketch.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And I would say, and now for something completely different, we're going to discuss a game that I don't think Mike Valdric plays. I don't think Biran plays, but he probably played in the past. I bet Xtreme has never played, and I have never played. Am I right on those so far?
I played in like 87.
Yep, same here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brian, did you play yes or no? I need you to say vocally if you played.
Okay.
I did not.
Yes.
I was playing a game in 87 called Collect the Tops with the Wood Borders. That's what the game I played. Nerd games. Well, we're going to talk about the game of Battletech. We brought on Thad Warren, owner, proprietor, head cheese of Grognard Games, because he's an expert. I don't know what they, when they have these doctors on the news, are they experts? Is Todd an expert? I don't know. He's got fake degrees on the wall. He majored in MechWarrior, I believe. Is that the same game, by the way? Did we decide that? Is that
the same
game?
Universe.
It's the same universe. Yeah.
That's the role-playing game, though?
Yes. And there's lots of video games called MechWarrior as well. But the MechWarrior game is a role-playing game. Yes.
Okay. So Battletech, there's been, I don't know, a 30-year history of the game, right? Now, relatively recently, last few months, they re-released a box set, I'm guessing to streamline the rules, have nice plastic models, and make everyone be able to jump in. Am I right on all those?
Mostly, yes.
So tell me about the new box set. Is that Alpha Strike?
No.
Oh, so I'm already fucked up.
There are two new box sets. There's without getting too granular, and we can get as granular as you want, right? The history goes back to 1984. The newest box sets, there's a two-player box set that is true starter set. It's $20. It comes with 2 models, a couple of maps, basic rule set, and it's just something you want to get your nephew or your kid, or just to try it out for $20 to see if this is something that is anything you might want to try out, or just as a gift to try it out. $20, you're not doing any investment. The real starter game is called Battletech, a game of armored combat, and that's a full-blown starter set with 8 models, 4 mechs that they're called per side. Mechs are just giant stompy robots, right? 3 stories tall, but they're 2.5 inches tall, right? And so a game of armored combat is $60. It is a true starter set. It's got all the basic rules. It's got 8 models. It's got a history book that kind of gives you the fluff, if you will, the history of the universe, paper map sets to play with, record sheets that you need, and 1 pair of dice is really all you need to play. So that's really the newest. It is a re-release, but what's that?
That's the real box set, where the other one is kind of like, is that like the X-Wing starter, where it's just a couple of things that the palette a bit?
Yes, and it's not even that. The rules are simple enough that they're pretty much the full rule set, but it's really just I don't know that I really want to try this, but here's $20 and let's try it out kind of thing. So for $60, it's a really good deal. For $20, it's a let's see if this is something that would be fun.
An experienced miniature gamer wants to buy the real box set, because
correct,
that's the level they should start at.
Yes, correct. And the real sneaky thing that they did was, in the starter box with 8 models, there's 8 unique models, eight different models. In the starter set that has only 2 models, there's one that's in the starter set and one that's not. So of course they have released actually 9 unique models. So if you want to get all 9 of them, you have to buy the $20 starter set, even if you
catch them all.
You gotta get them all right. So So a real miniature gamer will buy both of those boxes because they're a crazy person and have to have all the models, but
Okay,
you don't
so
necessarily need them both.
when playing the game of Armored Combat, you keep saying like you're getting a little something on the side if you get the whole catchphrase in there.
Yeah, a game of Armored Combat. Ding.
When playing BattleTech, you're on a hex map, right?
Yep.
That's already that's one Zlurpee right there.
Guaranteed
That's plus one, right?
It's
Yeah.
you're already at +1, and you start at 1, so you're at 2 already. Crazy
Right.
for everybody. Xtreme might differ when you get to the end because he likes to just jab one in there, like
Sure.
But I think 2 at least right now. When you're playing this game, you're going back and forth. You have movement points and action points to spend.
Movement points. Yeah, you don't have action points. You have actions that you can take, but it's if you want a quick overview, it's really a old school style miniature game that is the direct descendant of the historical chit games where you would play on a hex map.
Language, Todd.
Chit,
Kid show.
CHIT, chit.
Did you say?
And everything was a hex map, and so that's why BattleTech is on a hex map. And when the game first came out, there weren't miniatures; it was just cardboard standees. So it was really advertised as a board game, not as a miniature game. And yes, you have each mech has a certain number of points, movement points, which is just one movement point is one hex, super simple. And then if you want to pivot one direction or the other on one of the 6 sides, it's one more movement point. So if your mech has a movement point of 5, he can move straight 5 hexes. And then, you know, the maps, the color maps, the hex maps are always full color with lots of terrain and hills and buildings and forests and all kinds of stuff. So of course, moving through different terrain costs more movement points. And if you run, then you get some extra movement points. And the whole basis of the game is you move and then you shoot using 2 dice. 2d6 is the basic, you know, the basic mechanic. And you know, if you need a 4 to hit and you ran really fast, then it's a little harder for you to hit. So you might need a 6. And then the person that you're shooting at, if they moved really fast, it might need an 8 to hit. And then if they're in the forest, that's another modifier. They might need a 9 to hit. And then you'd roll your 2 dice, and if you rolled a 9 or better, you would hit. And that's really as simple as it gets. Now, of course, 1984, 35 years of rules, it's a lot more to that now, but that really is kind of the basic game.
Yeah, I saw it like not an unboxing, but they're going through stuff in there. I like that there was nice, neat little stat sheets for your mechs and kind of a just easy, dry erase of your different hit points and all that. Yeah. It looks like a pretty good value to get in. I would say, like to someone not experienced with it, this is a board game. Is it fair to say that?
It is. It's a board game. Since the starter set comes with actual physical plastic models that are all pre-assembled, and that actually look really good for, you know, compared to some of the stuff that's come out in the past 30 years. Yes, it is technically a board game. It's you know, a miniature game with a board game with miniatures, right? Yeah. It's in its basic form, just like anything. But you know, it's interesting because it's kind of the precursor to what a lot of miniature games are today, right? It first came out, there were no miniatures. They weren't going to do miniatures for them. You know, toy soldiers were led and they were used for D&D, or they were historical games. That was really all that existed when this game came out. So the fact that this game still exists using the same kind of models all these years later, it's this kind of dinosaur that never went extinct. It's a board game. It's a miniature game. It's really kind of, it's the evolutionary, you know, in between, right? It bridges the gap between board games and miniature games.
It is definitely the taint for sure. So I would say now it is a pretty, you know, they're streamlined it, they're re-release, more kind of, I don't know, mass appeal at this point. But dare I say that only a few years after it was released, did we have a LARP version of Battletech?
Oh, the battle pods.
I'm in one now.
North Mall in downtown Chicago.
Am I doing it right?
How do I make every weapon fire with one trigger? I want to do that every time.
Am I doing it right?
Turn off all heat. I want to fire everything with no penalty.
Todd, you went before to Battletech.
Oh yeah,
Chicago, right?
Many times, yes.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, it was awful.
At the time, I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
All I know is, as a kid, my brother Dean, who's 10 years older than me, goes with his friends, and I'm like, this sounds like the greatest thing in the world. To someone who's 12 and their 22-year-old brother is telling them it's the greatest thing in the world. If it existed today, would it be a joke?
No, they still exist. The pods actually still exist.
Oh,
and they
yeah,
go to,
yeah. I've seen them
They
at
do them at Gen Con,
conventions
don't they?
all the
they're
time.
at Gen Con every year, and they go to the
okay.
big conventions, and they're virtually unchanged. They
Are
much
the
like
graphics
Battletech
still the
itself.
same with flat, square textures?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I got in one a few years ago at Gen Con, and I still couldn't figure out how it works. So that's good to know that nothing really has.
And now you have the hantavirus.
No, that was pre-COVID, so I'm okay.
Yeah, I just remember that being like, it got me thinking when you said it's everything. They found a way to have it go to the computer games. There is an actual pen and paper role-playing game too, right?
Yes, MechWarrior is the name of the pen and paper game, and that's been around almost since the beginning as well, and it's gone through many iterations. All of the games have been owned by at least 4 different companies at this point, and
Was
some of them are
FASA the
still
original, Todd? Was it originally FASA or someone
FASA
else?
was the original in 1984, and there were naming issues because it was originally named Battle Droids, but George Lucas and Lucas Studios didn't like that because he used the word droid, so they immediately threatened to sue, so they changed it to Battletech.
And they had some mechs, some Battletech, some that were the same design as Robotech, aka Macross, and I know there were some issues there.
Yeah, initially every image that they came out with was stolen directly from those designs, Robotech, Macross, whatever it was called at the time, and so they eventually got a cease and desist, and were told you can't use those designs anymore, and they can still reference the names of those mechs like a Warhammer or a Rifleman, but they can't use those original images and haven't for many years. They did produce models of those original images, and those are fairly valuable these days. But yeah, so I don't know how smart this company was when they first came out. It was they seemed doomed right away, right? Let's steal another company's imagery 100%. Let's call it Battle Droids based off of the Star Wars franchise. Somehow they're still around all these years later.
You know what? I think if someone's watching this and they're maybe under the age of 30, let's say, doesn't the past sound way cooler than right now? Like, put yourself in the 80s.
You can get away with a lot of shit.
Companies are fighting about robot designs. Like that's
right.
That's the 80s summed up. We're arguing about robot designs. And like, does this button launch nukes? I don't know. Like, think about the arguments today in social media, and it's trash. That sounds amazing back then, Todd. I love the idea of stealing robot designs.
Right.
That should be a game in itself.
It was a big deal, I mean, we think about how big a deal Star Wars was. There wasn't much else like it, and of course everybody was trying to do everything Star Wars, and this was, I'm sure, just another in a long line of movies and books and games and toys that were stealing Star Wars stuff left and right. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that they would be really, possessive of those things. Even though you think about the word droid now it seems like, oh yeah, it's a droid. Everybody knows what a droid is. The only reason you know what a droid is because George Lucas invented that word. That word didn't exist before Star Wars. So, it makes sense that he would be possessive of that stuff, but it seems weird now.
I have a lore question, Todd. So when I got into it back in '87, and then I went to the Battletech Center at North Pier Shopping Center, and there were 4 mechs in there. There was like a Thor, a Loki, a Mad Cat, and one other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't recognize these. This isn't an Atlas. This isn't an Archer. And then I was introduced that these are clan mechs. And I said, this is racist. And I left. Can you go into that?
It's spelled CLAN.
Yeah.
The clans, right?
Not with a K. Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. And so the game is based on a future Earth storyline, and when the game released, the year was 3025, and so that was the mechs that you played: the Warhammer, the Rifleman, the Atlas, the Hunchback, all those basic mechs. And then as the timeline of the game progressed, it was kind of neat how they would tell the story. Every few years they put out new books and new supplements, and that would advance the storyline, the timeline rather, as they told the story. And then in 30, did I say 20? I'm at 30. 3025 is when it started, and in 3049, 3050, the clans invaded. They were basically an exiled group that left what was known as the inner sphere. Just think of it as kind of the solar system or the expanded solar system. They left and were gone for hundreds of years. And when they came back with this super technology. They had left and created this super militaristic society that focused on nothing but warfare, combat, and technological advancement. And so they came back with all of these super soldiers and super great technologically advanced mechs and robots and things. And they had super soldiers and power armor that would running around and bouncing around, kind of like Starship Troopers, the original book. And so that was that's known as the clan invasion. So those mechs were just cooler and better. And so that's what they used mostly in the battle pods, because it was kind of the new thing, right? And it was only a couple years after the game came out that they did that. So, I mean, that was always the plan, was to introduce that. And since then, they've advanced the storyline, from 3050. Now you can play all the way up to 3145, I think. And part of the fun of whenever you want to play an actual game of Battletech on the table now is, hey, what era do you want to play in?
Oh, is it like Flames of War where you have early, mid, and late type?
It is, absolutely. And of course, there's no defined eras. They do kind of divide them out, but it's very much like a historical game. Say, oh, well, I want to play this ancient historicals game. Okay, well, are you going to play Greeks, or are you going to play Romans, or are you going to play Persians, and what era?
Don't play the
weaponry is available. And
I play Greeks on the side. It's a historical game that takes place in the future.
Right.
Whoa.
So they never, is that a cop out because they didn't want to balance the clan mechs against the old mechs?
In the old days, there was no such thing as balance, right? Historical games don't have balance.
Oh, they don't care. Yeah, it's all about recreating. Yeah,
it's about recreating a battle, right? It's simulating what happened. It's more about putting your cool toys on the table and moving them around and say, hey, does Napoleon win Waterloo this time, right? So it's very much that old school. The balance had to be basically inserted by the fans of the game, and let's assign a points value to each individual model, and then you have to modify the points based on the era and the weaponry. And then of course there's this huge method by which you can create your own mechs. You can invent your own guys, and so then you have to have this really crazy algorithm that you have to use to divine what the battle value of that mech is that you've designed yourself.
Yeah, because when I played, it was just based tonnage. You played it.
Right. And so as long as you were close, it was fine, right? And still, really, to this day, as long as you're close, you're probably fine. The clans do break that rule quite a bit because their weaponry is a lot better, but then you just multiply it times 1.5 and you're good to go, and you just play for fun.
Yeah, the fact that this game came out so long ago in an era when it wasn't all about balance. I hate that the nerds
didn't exist. Yeah,
the nerds ruined it. We have to have tournaments. Why? Because you couldn't play sports in high school. Like, why do you need tournaments for a game? You don't. You don't. But ever since that became a thing, you're right. It's war gaming used to be more war and less gaming, and as opposed to now, it is about everybody always asks about balance. And that's a reason why in 40K I like power level, because it's like right off the bat, I'm telling you, I don't care about that. So that's off the table. And it
made for cool things. Like, I remember my favorite part of Battletech when I played was the source books, the long floppies, as I call them, that had like each mech. And it would tell you what it was and who designed. Yeah, those. And it would tell you famous pilots. And you're like, some of these mechs, they would even say like, this is poorly designed and was not popular. But I would still take it because it looked cool. There was like a heavy tonnage mech that had nothing but small lasers on it, and I took it just because it was dumb and it would suck. But I didn't care about winning. So
back then, were the models metal?
Yeah. They initially came out only in metal. Relpartha did a whole line of metals, and then since then, a company called Iron Wind Metals, and they're still producing probably thousands of different varieties of metal models for Battletech. But Relpartha did do all the metal models originally for Battletech, and those are valuable. And they did all the unseens and stuff originally. The old mechs that they were no longer allowed to produce, they now refer to them as unseen. the unseen mechs, because you can't actually see them. You can talk about them, but you can't see them in anything they produce anymore.
What do you mean you can't see them? I don't understand that.
They can't put them in print, so they cannot put them in this book. This is a new book, so you'll never see a picture of a Warhammer in this book because it's unseen. But they'll talk about Warhammers in this book all the time.
So if you have really old stuff, some of it you can't use anymore.
No, you can still use it. It is still, the rules still exist for it. It's just that they can't print an image of that or produce a model of that specific design anymore.
But they can print up stats and stuff like that.
They can print off stats for it. They still call it a Warhammer. They just have to use a different picture on the book is all it is.
Can I see the stat card of a Warhammer, or is that unseen as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
It'll be like in the yearbook when someone wasn't there for picture day. It has like the cracked photograph in their
Not
placeholder.
Yeah, it just says not available, but everything else is the same.
404 not found.
This is with all of its history in gaming and even venturing into the role playing, the computer, everything else. Why is the game not more popular?
It's not more popular because it is. I think the great point about the points and the competition and the balancing thing. Historical war games are all about the narrative, right? There was no balance. That was not a thing that existed in historical games. And because this is just basically a historical game pushed into the future, balance is something that was put on top of it. And so it's very difficult to explain that to people sometimes when it comes to, well, how many points is your army versus how many points is my army? Even in the starter game, the starter box, you've got these 4 mechs and these 4 mechs. They're of the same tonnage, but you play one game and you're like, well, this isn't fair. This guy is way better than this guy, even though they weigh the same, right? So it's hard to get people over that barrier. The other thing is, honestly, is the record sheet. So if you can see on the record sheet, you guys are familiar with all of the little circles, the little dots. It's like the Scantron. Like each one of these is taking a test. So this whole sheet represents my one mech that I'm going to play with. And when
not your whole army, just one mech,
right? And if you've only got 4, then that's fine. That's not a big deal, right? You can have 4 pieces of paper out on the table. But the thing is also the old school games, the historical games are just in love with charts. That's all. That's the only way they knew how to play miniature games was I'm going to roll a die and you're going to roll a die. And then we're going to cross-reference things and we're going to come to the middle. And we're going to find that number. And that's what's going to happen. And then you're going to take that and plug it into this other chart. And then you're going to determine where on that chart you're going to mark off the 3 points of damage on this mech that you did. He may have 200 points of damage and I just shot you and you took 3. Okay, now it's your turn. So it's a little old school. It's a little hard for new gamers, especially to understand. I shouldn't even say new gamers. I should say any gamer that's played any game ever in their life. And then you show them Battletech. They're like, what the heck is this? Why don't we just, why do I have to do all this math, right? Why do I have to do all
can't my
this
mech
chart
just
like
have
that?
100 hit points? Why does it care if it hit his arm?
Was this game invented by the kids who enjoyed homework?
Right. It's pretty much homework.
Why am I doing all this record keeping when other games have found other ways to do that? But also on the flip side, Todd, you showing that off, is some of the sexiness how retro it actually looks.
And for me, obviously, and it's for me, it's nostalgia, right? Because I was 16 when I got into the game. It was 1987, just like both of the guys said. And so this was the first miniature game, / board game that I really got into and had a lot of fun with, and why I like to play miniature games today. So for me, it's all about nostalgia. And so we do pitch that to the guys that have gray beards. Hey, remember these games? And remember when you used to do stuff like this? This is just like that. So that's one thing. But what Catalyst has done, which is the company that now owns most of the rights to Battletech, they own all the rights to the games, the actual tabletop games. They've created Alpha Strike, which you mentioned earlier. Alpha Strike is a completely different game, but uses the entire all the same stuff, right? So the same models, the same maps. Well, it doesn't have to use the same maps. It's actually easier to use. You don't need to use hexes anymore. You just play on a tabletop. You just play in any space you want to. And rather than one page to play your game of Battletech per guy, you have cards, and I've printed 4 of them off on this half sheet of paper. So this is my entire army for 4 models. This is one of my 4 models. And rather than all of these little holes, these little Scantron dots here, This mech, who's a big giant mech, has exactly 5 hit points. You hit him 5 times and he's dead. So you're moving the same model, you're rolling the same dice. There are still some charts, but not nearly. There's only really 2 charts in the whole game now, and it's just move, roll to hit. If I hit you, you take 2 or 3 points of damage. Like there's no where is it at, cross reference, how many missiles, do all the modifiers. It's much simpler. It's much faster. And in the core, both of the boxes that we talked about earlier, they have the actual cool color printed cards for Alpha Strike in that box set. Now, what they don't have is the rules set for Alpha Strike in those box sets, but they did put the cards so that you can play Alpha Strike in those box sets. And you can get the basic Alpha Strike rules for free off of their website, and they are very complete. Like I've played just the basic rules, and they're the rules, right? It shouldn't even say basic, it's actually the rules.
You probably wouldn't play that for fun at this point though, because you're already so invested in the quote real game.
So it's funny you say that, because for the last 3 weeks we've been playing nothing but Alpha Strike. The reason Alpha Strike is cool is because it is a different game, so it doesn't have that same crunchy feel to it, but I'm still pushing around my cool battle mechs. And the really cool thing about it is, rather than playing with only 4 mechs on a side, so in Battletech, if you play 2 players, 4 mechs on a side, you might play 3-4 hours sometimes, maybe less depending on the scenario, but 2, 3, 4 hours is very common, 8 total models. The first time we played a game of Alpha Strike, we had 4 players, there were 26 mechs on the table. We played that entire, and none of us had ever played it before. First time we ever played it, it took us 2.5 hours to play that game. So it moves way faster. It's much more free form, so it makes a lot more sense to somebody who's never played a game like that before. Like, I'm gonna move here, and if I can see you, I can shoot you, that's it. Like, there's not a lot of weirdness that goes on with it. It's a very much streamlined game. It's designed to play fast, and I still get that crunchy kind of nostalgic feel for pushing around my big stompy robots and throwing dice.
Is that if somebody that plays Blood Bowl wanted to try Blitz Bowl? Is this a similar comparison?
Very similar, yeah, for sure.
Got the flavor, but not the crunch.
And 40K and Kill Team even would be pretty close to that.
Okay. Yeah, I just I guess it was weird because it looks like they were both released, both the new version of the normal game, the other one relatively recently. So yeah. I think I watched a couple videos, and that is probably why I was a little confused, because there were 2 different games going on. Yeah,
for sure. And some of the most popular YouTube channels, for example, there's one, the most popular is, the name of the channel is Death from Above, and they do lots of battle reports, and they do both Battletech battle reports and they do Alpha Strike battle reports. And one of the fun and kind of confusing things about the game is that it's been around for so long that everybody plays with their own version of house rules, and everybody's modified the game, you know, to some degree. Like the first time we played it, we didn't play it exactly out of the book. We even changed a few small things. And so these Death from Above guys, they've been playing this game for so long, they literally have their own set of rules that they use that kind of blends the 2 versions of the game together. So it can be even more confusing as a new player. Hey, I want to play this Battletech game. This sounds cool. I'm going to YouTube it. And there's a bunch of videos, and you can't even really tell what version of the game they're playing half the time, because sometimes they play with hexes and sometimes they don't. Sometimes when they're not playing with hexes, they might be playing Battletech, but they might be playing Alpha Strike, and it's hard to tell.
This is that's probably a concept that scares a lot of people off from getting in.
Yeah, complicated can be okay, simple can be okay. You know, whether you're painting your own guys, whatever you're doing, whatever. What a game can't be is confusing. If it's confusing, it's like, what do I even do? Like, how do I get into this? What are my points values? You know, the common things that many modern gamers are used to just really don't exist easily in the game of Battletech, and so it can be hard to translate. But because it is still a fun and cool game, and obviously it's been around for so long, and Blood Bowl is a great comparative for Battletech. It's this kind of weird little game that people that are really into it are really into it. They're really passionate about it, and get that on your bingo card. And but it generally doesn't have a lot of new players. You know, you don't get a lot of new blood into that game every year. You'll get some, and you'll get some in Battletech, and now that they've released in the last couple of years, they've got their Kickstarters are shipping, and finally our store is going to start getting models for Battletech. We've gotten some, and we've got the starter sets and things, but now with new stuff coming out, there's some new excitement about it. And we had 8 people at the store playing the game the other night, and I think 3 or 4 of them had never played before the current edition had come out. So, they're getting some new people in, but you had to produce a whole bunch of new stuff, right? And that's like Blood Bowl's doing that with Games Workshop, doing the Blitz Bowl and bringing out the new teams, and now another new edition just came out.
You are a driving force of that game in the store. I don't know if that experience can be found in many other game stores.
No, I mean, it's, our store is fortunate that I'm a gamer and that I want to play all these things. And so, Battletech is a great example of me just wanting to do it myself. So I've invested my money and the store's money in bringing this game in. And, the classic, as Brian likes to say, any game can succeed if the store supports it. I'm supporting this game. And so the game is succeeding in our store, but I'm putting a lot of effort. Like you could say, an inordinate amount of effort into playing this game, but that's because I enjoy it, right? It's something. It's a joy for me.
You mentioned earlier about the confusing side and with games, and in the old times when you didn't have a lot of games to choose from, you could get away with being confusing because we didn't know there were games that were not confusing because they might not have even existed.
Because there really weren't. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Everything's confusing, but now it's kind of like Mike remembers the old days of found porn. Hey, you get what you get. It's not the best porn, but you get what you get.
You might even have to settle for gay porn, and that's okay.
You find a way to make it work. Now, boom, 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 boom. Look what I got here. Games are the same way without the adult side of that.
Well, think about it. Think about Warhammer First Edition. If you were to show that to someone who's only played 8th or 9th, they'd be like, what is this?
But it's just,
whereas, and the problem with Battletech is it's been First Edition the entire time.
Yeah, and kind of what I'm getting at is, Todd, if you were to, you're behind it, so it's a kind of a different discussion because it's not the norm. But if you were to say, unbiased game shop owner, sure, it's just another game on the wall. I'm not going to really go over the top because just another game. There would be so many other options that most people would choose instead. And that kind of sucks because it means they'll never give it a chance. Do you think that that's why these other, Alpha Strike comes out, or plastic models, or things all in a box for $30? Like, we're trying to do anything to get someone to at least give it a try because of all that. I mean, I don't want to say like negative history, but there's a lot of like grognardy-ish type things about this that's scary to jump in.
How many onion sandwiches are involved in Battle?
I'm already smelling onion sandwiches now.
Right. Yeah. And for sure. And, they did the Kickstarter thing and were wildly successful with multiple Kickstarters and multiple waves. And so, there is money out there. People are spending on this game, and I think that they would like to tap into the kind of, how do you say it, Brian? Anime crowd.
Anime, mecha.
They can't really actively court it because they stole all of that imagery from them in the first place, and so
these are our Gundams,
right? So they can't really lean into that kind of stuff too hard. But that's a different crowd anyway, right? So the Brians of the world are few and far between who like both anime and.
No, I don't like anime. I just watch a lot.
Right. You just consume a lot of it, right?
He likes it as a goof.
Right.
Sure. So, no, but you're right. It is a hard. I won't say it's a hard sell, but basically this is BattleTech. Well, what's BattleTech? BattleTech is a game from 1984. Oh, what's this? What's this other thing over here? Really, the rules are the same from 1984. They've changed like 3 things in that many years.
Like I remember Tabletop Minions talking about that they were excited to introduce the new BattleTech, and he's like, "Oh, great! I remember that. I wonder what it's updated." Then he saw it. He goes, "This is the same damn game."
It is exactly the same.
It sounds like I wonder if they should really push harder on Alpha Strike.
Yeah, well, and that's why in the starter box they include the Alpha Strike. Cards, so you've got them and they're really nice, and there's pilots and all kinds of extra fancy stuff you can do with them now, and you can get the rules for free. So that's kind of what they're pushing it. But the problem is, it's not a problem, but the only other thing they've sold until the new mechs start to come out is books. And if you buy one Alpha Strike book, you're done, right? You're done buying things, and the core rule book is free online. So they really want people to get into Battletech, because Battletech has been around for so long. It's got dozens of supplements and dozens of books and all kinds of other things you can get to play it, all the hex maps and all the fancy campaigns and all that kind of stuff. Whereas most of that stuff people don't use for Alpha Strike as much. So Alpha Strike, they try to use, this is a game that is used to get you into the game, and then Battletech is kind of, they want to get you into the crunchy version of Battletech, and then you spend more money that way.
Now, when the new models come out, are they coming with the cards for Alpha Strike?
Yes, they will. Each box set will come with the Alpha Strike cards for sure.
Are they coming with the Battletech stats as well?
No, because you can get the box set comes with record sheets, right?
Yeah.
But there are multiple websites online that they are, I don't think they own them, but they're officially affiliated with, where you can go online and print all of the sheets that you want, because there are literally thousands of variations and sometimes dozens of each individual mech that you can play, which is cool, right? So in World War II, there's only a few different versions of a Sherman tank, but all of them have the same gun on it, right? In Battletech, there's 30 different kinds of the
Actually,
Warhammer,
Todd,
and
the
they all have
Firefly
different
was
guns.
a variant of the Sherman tank that had a much larger gun.
Right. So so that's a cool thing. And so they don't put any of the stats except in the box sets for the actual Battletech game, because you just go online and print them off.
Well, that was the issue that I had, because when you started pushing it, I bought the starter set, and it came with the Alpha Strike cards, and I was confused by that because I didn't know what that was, and it wasn't well explained. And there's no, you almost have to have a shepherd to show you.
Yes.
You need to go here to find this and go here to find this. And because I'm like, how do I make these mechs? And I acquired a few other mechs or like 3D prints of things, but I didn't know what they were.
Right.
Because they were just like, oh, this has got a big head and 2 arms and a big gun. And I had no idea how to even find the stats for this thing. And
right. Yeah, for sure. The $60 box set gives you everything you need for those 8 models to play, and that's it, right? It gives you all the rules, but it gives you just the sheets for those 8 models. So if you want to get into the game, you have to start doing some additional research. And like Mike said, put it perfectly, you kind of need a shepherd. You need somebody to take you down the road.
To champion a game. We have an episode all the way up there called Champion the Game, Pachow. You do. And that's doesn't always work out, because what happens if you are that person and you don't want to be that person? There's just plenty of things that happen. And your point earlier, Todd, about their goal is to get people to try it with Alpha Strike but get into Battletech. It always seems to backfire. Whenever a game company says, we're going to get him in with this and get him to get it, and everyone's like, no, we love this. This game's the shit.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not supposed to like that game. That game's garbage. We only put it out there to get you. No, we love this game.
Right.
Make stuff for it. And it never works out. People always, they find
the thing is, like, transitioning from Alpha Strike to hardcore Battletech seems like a big leap. It's like, no.
Yeah. I'm just going to take my $25 book and play my game. Thank you very much, sir. Yep. I don't need to buy any of these.
I'm going on Shapeways and buying my mechs and printing out everything on PDF.
As a game store,
when you were describing Alpha Strike, I'm like, that sounds like the game that I want to play.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a lot of fun. It's a different game. I mean, it is not Battletech. It is just a game set in the Battletech universe, but it scratches that itch of being able to move around your robots and shoot PPCs at each other, right? So,
well, Todd, as a game store owner, you're doing a really good job of selling the game you don't want to sell right now.
So Todd,
I want to sell it.
To park your
it's a lot of fun.
Is it common to park your mech in a lake and just shoot all day and never overheat?
Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, especially in Alpha Strike. Yeah.
When people are done playing Battletech, do they talk in the parking lot about it afterwards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a complete game deconstruction after every event.
Post game talks every time.
I love that. That's one of my favorite parts. So can someone watching this right now that's not in Roselle, Illinois, buy it from your website or not yet?
Yep, we've got it. We've got the core game, some of the map sets, most of the books, all available at grognardgames.com for sure. We do. Can I mention I should have asked previously. Can I mention another podcast, a different podcast that I'm on,
Sure.
where we stream the Battletech games?
Hold on, we got to ask everybody, Biran. You're not the fucking boss.
That's true.
Biran, yay or nay?
Yay.
Valdric,
Of course, yeah.
Xtreme? I'm going nay.
Oh,
It doesn't matter. We needed 2/3 and we have it.
link in the description below, which
Go
I
ahead.
found in YouTube means they forgot to put the link in the description below.
Link in the description below.
Biran's going to talk about his fucking canal guy, so whatever.
So we do some live streaming of Battletech games, typically on Friday nights, sometimes on Saturday afternoon, every other week or so.
Is it a
on a podcast
Pornhub
called-
link or is it a YouTube link?
It's both.
It's I'm not technologically advanced enough. We stream it on Twitch, and it's called You Got Me Monologuing. So I'll give you some kind of link. I mean, I post them on my Facebook page, Brian,
Okay.
so you can see them there.
I think the thing people do when you mention Twitch, the cool thing for people to say now is, what are you doing, video games? Because like you can't do anything else apparently on there.
That's what you do on Twitch.
Well, people got into trouble for doing other things on Twitch.
What?
Doing porn on Twitch.
Doing porn?
Yes.
In my day, we called it sex.
Yeah. Well, they would do sex on the Twitch. Or people got busted for showing nudity. They were playing games, but a camera's on them looking at their boobs.
Wait, so if you're watching, because guys want to watch hot girls play video games. That's a thing. If they're naked, that now crosses a line.
Yes, they booted a lot of people off for that. Even people that were just barely naked,
Like just like a PP.
like clearly suggestive stuff. So I don't know how Todd's not been demonetized on it.
So Todd is streaming. I'll do the quotes like he does. Battletech every other week, but it may or may not be. I'm unclear so far.
No,
Todd, is
it's
yours really Battletech, or are you doing Coochie Mama stuff?
It may be Alpha Strike. So no, it may not be Battletech. It may also be Alpha Strike.
Okay, one of the two.
Yeah.
So can someone watch and learn, or is it strictly battle report style?
It's just watching. It's just live stream stuff. If you're wanting to learn how to play, there are lots of YouTube videos. Just look it up on the YouTubes, as they say, Battletech or Alpha Strike.
I think Biran's buddy Thumbring has a good one too.
Yeah,
Is that the Gorilla?
Yeah, I think
that's Canadian Thumb Ring. There's Canadian Thumb Ring and there's Wisconsin Thumb Ring.
Who's Wisconsin Thumbring?
That's Tabletop Minions.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Adam Smasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm focused on him and his content. You're a finger guy, apparently.
You know what? I don't think he has a thumb ring. His wedding ring is as thick as Canadian Thumb Ring's thumb ring.
Oh, is it worth more because it's American though?
Well, yeah.
Like it's not a loony or whatever.
It doesn't have kids playing hockey on it.
I'd like to inquire with Xtreme. Xtreme, do you have any questions about BattleTech for Thad Warner?
And also, what are you eating?
And also, are you watching baseball while we're talking?
No, I'm not watching baseball. I was eating a nice chicken breast and some broccoli.
Oh, breast man.
What was the other question?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Something to do with BattleTech.
Do you care about the topic? I don't know.
Sort of. I don't know. Like I get the idea of keeping it the way it always was, but I don't know. I'm not really interested in the game. I'd be a lot more interested if it was a larger scale, which I know they weren't able to do in the 80s, but now I think they could probably pull it off if it
Like
was
a 10 mil scale, like epic level.
Well, the clicky game is
Oh,
what
he
you're
means
what
larger.
you're talking about.
You mean larger, like 54 millimeter?
Like larger, like big,
Oh.
cool looking mechs that you could like paint some cool details on. And if I'm going to have a mech that has like 100 hit points, I'm going to be sitting there all night. I want something that's big and cool.
You want like a giant, like a transformer on the table.
Yeah.
You want like a GW Knight is what you want.
Yes, something that size. But
Well, I
like
have
it-
something for you. It's made by GW, and it didn't sell very well, but it exists.
Okay. Go on.
sounds expensive.
What was that game, Todd? With the
Titanicus?
yeah.
Oh, Inquisitor, you mean? The big
No,
one?
no, it used Titans.
Oh well.
Yeah, but the Titans are still about that big, though, aren't they?
They're bigger than Battletech miniatures.
Well, what's
Oh,
funny
really?
is, so when
Yeah.
that came out way back when, the Titans were that big, but then they had the Imperator Titan, which defeated the whole reason you're playing small is so we can have Titans. Then they came out with a Titan that was this big. It's like, wait,
No, like I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, they released a specialist game that was just Titans.
Yeah, it
and
was
it might have had Knights.
Titanicus. Yeah.
Titanicus.
Titanicus.
And that was even crunchier, I think, than Battle.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but it's pretty close.
Systems and stuff.
The Alpha Strike does sound appealing.
There you go,
Much
Todd.
quicker than
We
50.
sold another $30 box set for you, Todd.
Sweet.
One
Yeah.
box and you're done, everybody. It's awesome.
Also, I did anyone here read the novelizations of the Battletech universe? I did.
I read them all
one or
when they
two
first came
back
out.
in the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't
I watched
remember anything.
Exo Squad.
They weren't very good, but I liked them.
What'd you say, Brian?
I watched Exo Squad when I was a kid. Does that
Yes.
count?
There was a Battletech cartoon.
There was. I do remember that too.
Actually, from FASA?
Well, it was a Battletech cartoon, and it was the clans invading, and
Yes, I remember
it was wonderfully awful.
Not
And you
to
can
be
watch
mi-
the whole thing on YouTube right now.
not to be mixed up with Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
Right.
Any other talking points about this game? It's not a how-to, but it's Todd did a kind of a little bit of a history, but also a where are we now with the game? Anything else needs to be covered?
I have one question.
Mm.
All right.
It's a fluff question. Since the clans are so powerful, do they just come in and destroy the inner sphere, or they just get bored, or?
So that's a great question. The problem with the clans and why they didn't just roll over everybody in the inner sphere is that the clans have this invented and created kind of chivalrous sense of honor. And so when the two clans decided they were going to try to take over a planet, they wouldn't just divide it in half and go blow it up. They would say they would have to bid their forces to decide who could take the planet with the fewest possible forces, because
Oh, they played Name
Taking-
That Tune with it?
because they were so good. If they took it with fewer forces, then that gave them more honor. And so they would bid down their forces
What a bunch of
back and
dumbass.
forth. And then if you won the bid, you would have theoretically way less than you absolutely could take, but you had to try to win to get your house more honor. And so that was how they balanced it in the narrative of these super powerful super soldiers with this amazing technology, but they would come in way outnumbered on purpose. And even then, they still completely crushed the inner sphere until the inner sphere figured out how to fight against them. And even then, they would hamper themselves within the battles where each individual mech warrior pilot on the clan would fight one specific bad guy, one enemy, and only shoot at that one mech until he was dead, and then he would find another target and shoot at that mech until he was dead. Whereas the inner sphere guys in regular combat, you focus fire, everybody shoots one until he's dead, and then everybody shoots another one until he's dead. It's way more efficient and much faster. And so they had to give them two, in the narrative, they had to give them two separate handicaps in order to make it a fair fight and make the stories actual stories.
What happens when someone says, yeah, I don't do those rules?
Well, then their house is dishonored and they have less status within the universe. But there are lots of stories, of course, just like, kind of similar to the Japanese stories and the Ronin and the whole idea of Bushido and the whole idea of chivalry and the knights and things like that, the Black Knight and all those kinds of things. The stories of the clans and the warriors who would break the rules and would bring honor upon themselves then would have to go out and do their own thing, and they would be dishonored and dehoused and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Much like the honor in game store owners.
Right.
Like
That's more like the old Dungeons and Dragons on the wall, the classic, there is no honor among thieves.
Right. Any game shop owner ever commits a harikari on themselves?
I mean, there's still time, I guess. If I do something horribly dishonorable.
I don't
It might
think you
happen.
would do it yourself. I think Howie would use the chop on you.
Well, that's how it works, right? I have the sword and I do it to myself, and
And then
then
he finishes
before
it.
I shout out, he has the choppa and takes my head off.
Oh, God, okay. He's like, and what does Adrian do? Video?
Yeah, right. He documents. Right.
Smash that like button.
Yeah.
Smash that.
So I know we kind of covered a little bit of everything. A lot of times we do like a pros and cons. Could you, Todd, do a brief pros and cons of the game to kind of sum it up for someone watching that is, I don't know if I want to jump into this whole world. It's a whole scene, man.
It's a whole scene. I would say the starter set, the $60 starter set, is plenty crunchy enough for somebody who wants to try a game that it's big stompy robots. The models are really cool. It is a hex-based game, so it's different probably than what some people have played, but I know that you guys are big fans of hex-based games. So if you're fans of hex-based games, you should definitely try this out. It does require a little bit of record keeping, but like I said, only, one of these per mech. You have 4 of them. It's not like, you've got a whole lot of homework to do or anything like that. The rules are not super complicated. They really aren't. There's some charts you have to look up, but everything is on 2d6. Like, it's not like you need lots of sets of dice. You're not rolling buckets of dice. You're rolling 2d6 dice. So it's good, clean fun. It is a nostalgic kind of fun. It's a nostalgic kind of game, so it doesn't play like the modern game. So if you're looking for a little bit of a different experience, absolutely check it out. And if you like the regular Battletech, or you just like the mechs, you can definitely get the starter set and then download the Alpha Strike book for free and play a much quicker, much more streamlined, much more modern style game with the same maps, the same models, the same standees, and the rules are available for free, or you can buy the book for 25 or 30 bucks. So definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. It really is. And it's a game that's, you talk about a game that's been around largely unchanged for over 30 years. There's got to be something good about it, right? If it were a horrible, horrible game, it would not be around 30 years later, almost completely unchanged.
How do you explain Blood Bowl then?
That's not my job. That's John's job.
No, fuck that. So now, Todd, as not somebody trying to sell the game and champion the game in your store, and now that you're actually a reviewer on this show, tell me about the cons of this game, even if you don't believe them.
I think Mike probably summed it up the best. If you want to go beyond just the starter box, which most, I don't know if most people do, but probably most people that listen to this show are going to want to get into a game more than just the starter box, right? There is a little bit of a, well, kind of what now? Like, it does require a little bit of research and a little bit of, watching some videos and figuring out where to go and looking at the websites, and then how do I maneuver these websites? So it takes some effort. It takes a little bit of research. You can certainly buy a lot of the record sheets, and you can spend some money. If you don't mind spending money, you can spend money to buy the things that you need, but there's all of these resources that are out there that are available for free. You just have to go find them. And so if somebody is interested in the game, but that is a barrier to them, I totally get it. I would say buy the starter box, see if it's buy the $20 starter box and see if it's something that is even remotely interesting to you. And if it is, get the 8 model, starter set, and then reach out to your friendly local game store, watch some videos on YouTube, shoot me a message on Facebook, and I can point you in the right direction. There's all kinds of Facebook groups, all kinds of, all the Facebooks and all the internets and all the YouTubes have videos for it. I mean, the good thing about it, it's the good and bad about a game that's been around for 30 years is that it's been around for 30 years, right? So it's got some staying power. That means there's good stuff about it, but also there's such a wide variety, and it's so deep on so many levels that you can really kind of, your eyes start to Google a little bit, like Mike said, and said, I don't know where to go with it. So, okay. So that would be the kind of the negative about it, right? It is a crunchy game. Battletech, the game, is a crunchy game. And what I mean by that is, kind of like we said, it's an old school game. It plays like an older game. It doesn't play like a modern game. Alpha Strike plays like a modern game. It is a much different kind of game set in the same universe. So that's good that there's some variety there, right? If you like the anime, big stompy robots, the Gundam kind of style of robots, and you always wanted to move them around and roll dice and see how they, shoot lasers at each other, you can do that. That's what Battletech is. But it's just with, that style of game, it's not actually those, those kinds of things. It's very much adjacent to all of those anime Japanese style cartoons and models and games. And so I think that has, it obviously has a wide appeal. That genre has a wide appeal. So I would think if you're interested in gaming and you're interested in that genre, you should absolutely check out Battletech. But it does have that kind of old school gritty charts and looking things up on what page kind of thing to it. So it does take a little getting used to if you've never done that kind of thing before.
Does the Alpha Strike have like widgets? Because there's no hexes, right?
Alpha Strike, you just move in inches, just like any other game.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yep.
It's kind of weird that the more basic version is actually more wargamey.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, the more, it's the more basic version, but it's designed to be the more modern version, right? And because that's what most modern gamers are used to, moving around in inches. Really, the kind of hex games has kind of come back in the last 4, 5, 6 years. Like you guys have been getting into hex games. That's kind of a new thing. That's like old is now new again, right?
Yeah.
Well, and this
So-
is a different from the hex games, the more modern ones. It's hex based, sure, but there's a lot more hexes than the hex games we play. You know what I'm saying? They're tiny hexes
Yeah.
and it goes on forever. Like
I think the hex stuff, we talk about it because there's no measuring. So there's no, what's the word? Fiddlediness?
Fiddly, yeah.
no faffing about.
Yeah, no, no faffs. Is that 2 Fs?
You don't want to make yourself into a proper numpty.
I don't want to be a numpty, that's for sure. Yeah, it's just the reverse though, because I think measuring war game, this is the opposite. So I do like that there's some, and like you said, Todd, even for $20, I mean, give it a try, and you can kind of only go up from there. If you feel it's not your bag, then that's fine. I'd like to think that with Catalyst behind it, and it's kind of feels like, I mean, trying a little harder when it comes to the game.
For sure,
store.
yeah.
There's going to be steady releases. Will it be like, right now you can see what GW, what Cool Mini or not, what Fantasy, you can see what they're going to come out with, and you can is this going to be like that?
That's the plan anyway. We'll see how well they're able to execute it. Catalyst, as the company that owns the rights to the tabletop stuff now, they've got a little bit of the, too popular for their own good. They're a classic small company that's got a huge amount of demand, had 2 wildly successful Kickstarters, and now they're still trying to, figure that out. And then of course COVID happened, which just set everything back 6 months to a year. But that is the plan, to have regular releases, and there are so many different mechs in the universe that they can put out stuff forever and ever and ever. And there's already all this material that exists that they've put out, so you can play the mechs with the material that exists on any level you want to play it. I didn't even talk about the stuff that's been out for so many years. There are campaigns, books, there are interstellar campaigns, there are different kinds of games that you can play in the Battletech universe that are solar system based, that are galaxy based, that are the entire universe based.
They got to make models though. Like
it's crazy.
All those books. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of money to be made because people are 30-year-old game. Grognard's sharing PDFs online.
Right, exactly. It's like a play-by-mail game or something, right?
Right.
There's they're not making any money on that, but if you're into that kind of game and that kind of thing interests you, that you can, it's available for you just because it's been around for so long.
I think there needs to be new plastic models out every couple months.
And that's, I think, their goal, and they're just choking on the Kickstarter right now. So once they get all that Kickstarter stuff finally flushed out, I mean, let's be honest, they'll probably do another big Kickstarter, but that would be nice if they would do it and support the game stores that we're trying to support them back. But, I think Catalyst is a company that's going to do Kickstarter. So as much as I'd like to see new stuff come out every however many months, I don't know that that's what they'll do. We'll see. It would be nice. I know that they have they've put out lots of pictures and lots of plans for what they're coming out with. But until they get through this first Kickstarter, I don't know for sure, what the actual release will look like. But
so Mantic has Pathfinders. There's Outriders. What are you, like a little mech?
I don't know. They just graybeards is all we are. We're all just old people.
You don't get like, all right,
we're all senior citizens.
If you work unpaid at these 4 conventions, we'll give you a $20 box. Then you get a title and a shirt. Like Mike got a shirt. Mike's wearing a shirt right now.
Yeah.
You didn't pay for that shirt, Mike. You worked blood, sweat, and tears to get that Mantic shirt.
And Todd, are you going to be running an open RPG in the Battletech universe for all comers every Friday and Saturday at Grognard Games?
That sounds amazing.
No, I don't think I will, Brian. But if you would like to, you certainly can.
Well,
I'll
he's
get you
working
set
on
that
a
up.
he's building a cardboard mech suit right now.
Yeah, out of like Keystone 12 packs.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like he's asking people's neighborhood if they're buying refrigerators. He wants the box.
Well, you called it a LARP, right? That's the LARP. You have to actually build a cardboard mech to wear
Look, I'm an
around.
Atlas.
Or anybody got a Whirlpool refrigerator box I can use? You know,
Right.
really go all out. That's what I'm hoping for. Cut some armholes and everything. Anything else regarding Battletech, or have we, dare I say, oversold it?
Yeah, probably oversold it.
Xtreme, what else do you need to know right now about this world of Battletech?
I think I know everything I need to know.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but he knows everything he needs to know.
Now, here's the biggest question of all. And this is not a question to Todd, but it's a question about Todd. Does he get to rate a game on this show?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, two yays without even thinking about it. Our integrity out the window.
We don't have any of that.
No.
Xtreme, yay or nay?
I mean, I'm going to have to add a new column to my spreadsheet, but sure.
Oh, the spreadsheet you haven't kept up with, that one?
It's updated as of right now.
Yeah,
That's what I've been
exactly.
doing the whole time.
Last week, I went to it on my phone, and you were missing 3 games.
Not anymore. Go to it right now.
Okay, I believe you. You seem like you really meant it this time. Okay, I say yay as well. Unanimous. Todd, you do good. You get a vote, and I think it's appropriate because a lot of games we play, usually more than one of us are into it. You know, I would say most of the games we played, at least 2 of the 4 are really into it. This is the only one where, even though Mike and Biran are experienced, so I think having Todd's vote in there might actually offset the inexperienced side of the vote. The ignorant vote, if you will. Just a thought. So we begin with the most experienced, and that is the oldest, maybe, on the show.
Todd?
I'll never tell.
No, Todd. No, I'm older than Todd.
Mike's older than me.
Yeah.
Todd's 57.
Dare you? I may look 57.
The COVID look and the British thing, you know,
Yeah.
age differently. So, but Todd is the most experienced. So, Todd, you're going to give it a Zlurpee score. I don't know if you've ever watched one of these shows before, but it is between 1 and 5, and you can give halvesies if you want.
Right.
Okay. The floor is yours.
So I would say it's hard for me because I'm a big fan and have
Just
been
say it.
forever.
Hey, Todd.
I'm sorry.
And I sell it in my store.
Okay.
So there's a conflict of interest there a little bit, but I'll
We
be
don't
honest.
recognize that here.
Xtreme
be
hates
honest.
everything, and there's no conflict there.
I'll be honest. I mean, I would say probably as a game to get into, especially when you consider just the starter box, I would say I don't know, 3.5 or 4. I'm going to give it an extra half point because of the nostalgia. It's been around for 3 years. It can't be a bad game if it's been around for this long, and it's still more popular than ever. Kickstarters are doing millions and millions of dollars. So there's something good there. So that bumps it up to a 4. Then you've got the new versions of the game.
I'm going to go turn the lights on while we do
Alpha Strike. You've got all the other cool stuff. I would say 4.5, but because it is an old school game and it still plays like an old school game, I'm going to say a 4.
Okay, Are we still on the thing?
I said a 4.
Todd's still explaining his score.
I thought he was still explaining what a number means.
I still said I'm going to say 4.
So it's a 4. Okay. You know what? Fair rating based on your involvement in the game.
Yeah, it's not the greatest game I've ever played. There are definitely better
That's
games
Magic
than
the
this out
Gathering.
there.
That's the funny thing. I know with all obviously these ratings, we joke about, you know, it could at any point in time it could change, but that's what these are though. The higher the rating doesn't mean you always think it's better or you like it better. It's like a feeling, you know. I mean, like I gave Underworlds a 5, the only 5, but I don't want to play that every single day of my life. But it's still a 5, so I totally get it that you could fairly assess it, you know. All right,
I tried.
I think Biran would be next.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I was originally, I'm not going to go into a long diatribe.
Thank you.
I was going to give Battletech, the old school game, a 3. Alpha Strike sounds way better, so a 4.5. So I'm going to settle on a 4 as well.
Whoa, okay.
I'm interested in trying out specifically Alpha Strike.
And just so I'm clear once again, because it may have come up, but every mech that is available model-wise has an Alpha Strike card also available?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like no, I'm sorry, this is what you get, and if you want more models, it's a different game. Okay.
Yep.
And that 4 could go down if they don't continue to support it, like if they don't release new models, new plastic models, that could go down. But right now, I'd like to see just like, hey, I just got a Panther and it has the Alpha Strike card in the box. This is great. I'm so happy. It's my favorite.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah.
And we're going to be doing it in about a month, a new ratings assessment, if you will. This one though, it's kind of like when a codex comes out before a new release. Like this one has to last.
Yep.
Because you're not going to change in a month, Biran.
I probably would if I forgot what I gave it and then said, "What do you think of Battletech?" I go, "I don't know, 3."
Oh, I was thinking we were going to say "Do you want to change?"
Oh,
I don't think they should be fresh.
Yeah.
I think we should have history in there. So okay, Valdric, your rating for Battletech?
I'll give it a 3.5. I was going to give it a 3, but I'll be honest with you, I had no idea what Alpha Strike was. I thought it was just the same game, but with the same stats and everything. You just started with the ranges were doubled and you started closer. But again, I'm glad I got the chance to listen to Todd talk about it because I'm a little intrigued by that. So we'll give it about 3.5 and we'll see.
All right.
Because again, I bought the starter set and I was just overwhelmed with, I read the rules and I'm like, I don't know how to
And Mike, you don't know anybody at your local game store that can help guide you?
But yeah, but I got the starter set during COVID. So I was in my bubble and I went online and I was just overwhelmed. I didn't know where to start,
That's
so,
fair.
but
a COVID taint on the radar, sure.
Well, again, you need someone to show you the ropes initially, and
even without lockdowns, though, you still would need someone to guide you on.
I think so. Yeah. So it has a high, at least introductory learning curve.
I would agree with that.
To just show you what you need to know and what you don't need to know, at least initially, and then you can grow from there. So,
Xtreme, do you want the final one, or do you want me to go, or either?
I don't care, whatever you want.
Okay. I'll go. I have virtually no experience with it, but I know it's been around so long. What about this game has never gotten me to say, yeah, I'll try it? I don't know. If it's so great, why haven't I moseyed on over to that table where like the grossest gamers of the gross are playing? And I'm like,
lots of onion sandwiches over there.
Yeah, I don't like onions. With that said, it's always looked cool. Who doesn't think mechs look cool? They do. That's a fact, not even an opinion. I wouldn't be opposed to giving it a try sometime. I think I probably would try Alpha Strike. Wouldn't mind getting the box set. But unfortunately, based on no experience and just Todd's selling of it, it's not enough for me to go higher than a 3 because I still need to physically play it and try a demo to really say, yeah, I'm going to go all in on this. So I'm going to give it a 3.
Seems fair.
Could be worse. It's no Blood Bowl. Take that for what it's worth.
That's for sure.
Well, Blood Bowl is more of a party game anyway.
Xtreme said Blood Bowl is his favorite dungeon crawl, is what he said.
No, that was Dungeon Bowl.
The same thing.
If you like Diablo, you're going to love Dungeon Bowl.
Blood Bowl with treasure chest is Dungeon Bowl, right?
It's great.
Xtreme, we're all waiting with, what's the expression, bated breath?
Bated breath.
What does that mean?
You're holding your breath in anticipation.
It sounds like you want to eat bait. Anyway, Xtreme, I've had bated breath about your rating.
Great. Awesome. So I've been aware of this game for the entire time I've been a gamer, but I've never really had any interest in playing it. I don't think that's changed a whole lot, so I think that's going to affect my rating, unfortunately. But I do really like the comparisons to Blood Bowl as games that haven't changed for a long period of time. That really makes it I don't know, opens up my eyes a little bit to like see, well, I do like this one game, and I see where people that played Battletech a long time ago may still have that nostalgic feeling toward it and feel like this is definitely the game for them. I think they should all give it a try.
Real quick,
I'm going to give it
let me jump in. Before we go, let me jump in. I love that was a con, but Xtreme puts the cons as pros. I love like that's like going to a job interview and they say, "Do you have any weaknesses?" I'm too passionate. Like
I can never stop working.
I care too much. That's my only weakness. Like I love that when we say this game's been around for so long, nothing's changed. He's like, I love that. I'm sorry to say that.
So I'm going to give it a 2.5. If you guys were playing it, I would definitely join you for the good times, but it's not a game I'm going to seek out.
So is it a Schaumburg 3?
Yeah, sure.
Is it an Ohio 4? Am I doing that right or am I reverse?
I don't know how Ohio translates.
I think I got the comparison wrong. Maybe it's an Ohio 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, total rating, Biran, did you do the math? Because there's
3.5.
Okay, 3.5.
Right.
Look, there it is. I think I'm still on top. There it is.
Yeah. Yes, you are on top.
I'm over here, right?
No, really.
So that concludes this episode. I want to thank Thad Warner, also known as Tiberius Warnerius. Todd Warren is his American name.
Tad Sick Vapes Warren.
Boris Todd Bringer.
I believe it's Todd Sick Clouds Warren. Grognardgames.com. He has not just GW Magic, but like the games you don't even think about. It's like, oh, he's got that. Oh, and it's on sale because he's trying to blow the fuck out. We went all in on Wild West Exodus, and now no one's playing. I get it. That's true.
When you check out, use offer code Todd Sick Vapes Warren
yeah, we got to get one of those.
to get 10% off your Kings of War blisters.
Use promo code Zlurpy for nothing.
Tell Leif, Todd Warner, and
if you spend $100 or more and use promo code Zlurpy, free shipping.
That's right. For everybody.
There's no spot to put it. Just
everybody
type Zlurpy on your keyboard and it'll work.
You just have to type
maybe
it.
we need to add a item, like a $0 item that says Zlurpy, so people know we get credit. You know, as an influencers, we get credit.
Right. Hashtag Todd Cred.
There we go. Hashtag Todd Cred. Hashtag got it at Grognard's as well.
Yes.
Yep.
That's worldwide. If you buy it online and they ship it, hashtag got it at Grognard's. I love it. So follow Grognard Games, either Grognard Games or Grognard Store, depending on which social media you're on, at Zlurpcast for the show. And I love that we did an episode of a game that I knew virtually nothing about. I had to learn a whole lot. So I think that as we burn ourselves out with the games that we know and love, we're going to get some educational ones that we appreciate as well. So definitely tune in for more. Subscribe. As Biran says, you say smash it? Is that what you do? Or like Zlurp on that?
Oh, that's for the foot fetish guys out there.
Almost at 200 subscriptions, 200 subscribers. When we hit 1,000, pants off episode for Biran, and the camera will be on his down there.
Macro lens required.
Yeah, macro lens. Yeah, Todd will not be on for that one.
That will not be brought to you by Grognard.
Well, because it won't exist because we won't get to 1,000. That's why. Anyway, that's all the time we have. So bye, everyone.
Zlurpcast! Brought to you by Nuffles. Bet you can't just roll a one.